What is up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of FitBizU. I'm your host, Jill Coleman. And before we get started, I do want to remind you that we are going to be opening the doors for FBA, which stands for Fitness Business Accelerator, this coming September. And I would love if you guys are interested, if you are in that beginner stage, in that year 0 to 2 of building your online business, to get on the interest list. We are going to be giving some exclusive bonuses and early details and an exclusive discount to those on the interest list. So go to jillfitfree.com/FBA waitlist. That's jillfitfree.com/FBA waitlist. Okay, so today we're going to get into what we call the runway phase of your launch, or I've called it the anticipation phase before your launch. So essentially, and this is what's hard, I think sometimes people have an easy time posting when they're launching. They know what they're talking about. They're like, oh, okay, we have to push this thing, or we have to talk about these issues or these topics. Oftentimes, what can be the hardest, especially for my clients, is what to post when they're not launching. So what to post in that middle period between launches. And we've talked about this in other episodes where we have this time in our business, what we call the anabolic phase. So your anabolic phase is when you're building things up. Of course, I'm from the fitness industry, so anabolism is this phase where you're building muscle, or you're maybe gaining fat, you're gaining size, you're gaining bulk, whatever it is. And in our business, we have times, and actually most of the time in our business is what we call anabolic phase, where we're building things like trust, we're building goodwill, we're building our email list, we're building our social media following, we're doing all of that to eventually be able to ask for the sale. So remember, when we open the cart, quote, open the cart for sales, or when we're talking about our sale, oftentimes that's only for maybe a week. I teach an 11-day cart open. I personally do a 4-day cart open. So really, the only time that we're launching is just a handful of days. The rest of the time is really about adding value, really about sharing a lot of great value for free, like this podcast, to get people interested in what you do and to nurture those people. And the catabolic phase, of course, is when we're breaking things down. Catabolism is all about breaking down. It's all about, in the business world, asking for the sale. So everything else goes into anabolic phase. Catabolic phase is when cart is open. When you're actively asking for the sale, you're in sort of a launch period. And when I say breaking down, I mean, typically you might get maybe more unsubscribes. Maybe you might have some people unfollowing on social again. Not a big deal, right? At the end of the day, you're not here to play defense, but you do need lots of time with anabolic action items and behaviors before you go ahead and ask. So Gary Vaynerchuk wrote a book years ago, I think it must have been 10 years ago now, called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And Jab, 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 Right Hook, it stands for give, 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 and then ask, right? Give, 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 and then ask. And so you have to, and we know this for personal and branding reasons, like people won't buy from those they don't know, they don't like, and they don't trust. In order for someone to know, like, and trust you, you have to share a lot about you and a lot about what you do and who you are and how you do what you do and your energy and your personality. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast, was to give you guys these sound bites. And also, so you can hear my voice and you can hear the inflection, you can hear and you can feel the energy of this podcast. That's a really big part of podcasting, is that everything that's not the words that people are saying, it's everything around the podcast. Do we even like this person's voice? Do they speak at a cadence that I can keep up with? What's their energy like? Are they entertaining to listen to? We all know those podcasters who may be a little bit new, who may be a little bit monotone. I mean, and I'm not the best at speaking and the best at like just audio, but I've gotten better over the years. I don't say as much. I still say like a good amount, but I do try to practice slowing things down and talking in a way that makes sense to people. And so you guys can hear my energy and the intonation of my voice, etc. And so all of that to say that when we're in anabolic phase, we have to be giving. We have to be giving value. We have to be building trust, building goodwill, building all of those things so that at some point we can ask for the sale. I hear a lot of people come into the online space and just be like, I need to find an offer. And I'm like, yes, you do have to create an offer. Maybe you don't know what you're going to sell yet. That's a big issue. But more so, the problem is, like, no one knows you yet or likes you or trusts you. It's not that you're not likable, not that you're not trustworthy. It's just literally you're new. And so I would love if you create an offer or a course or whatever, but if there's no one to buy it, then it doesn't matter. So you do have to spend time mostly in what we call this anticipation phase or this anabolic phase. Now, today I want to talk about your launch runway. And oftentimes we mistake, like we don't think about our launch until it's like almost time. We're like, oh, I'm launching something in a couple weeks. I better like look at this stuff. Now, what I try and do, especially for my more intermediate to advanced students, is I really want them to really elongate that runway phase. I want them to not only have a couple weeks, but maybe even a couple months. And I also want them to be steering the conversation, the public conversation towards whatever their next offer is. So, for example, if you're launching something in September, this is July, it's 2 months from now, I want you putting out some kind of what we call an evergreen lead magnet right now. Like a lead magnet that would be, again, a download or something that's free for people to consume now, to start getting some wins with you now. And when I say it's evergreen, I mean people could just grab it anytime. So right now we have an evergreen lead magnet called Make $2,000 in 30 Days Online. It's a download. It's like 5 pages. It's just a PDF. And we have that being pushed out for actually probably the last month or so on social media via ads. So it's all from paid traffic. We also have Content Bootcamp, which is a free 14-day course. We're pushing both of those evergreen lead magnets. One is a 14-day email course. One is a download, right? So they're different delivery methods, but both of those have been on ads now for the last month. And what it is doing is it's helping people start to have a relationship with me. If they're getting 14 emails from me over the course of 2 weeks, they're going to learn a lot if they read them, or if they open them, if they read them, if they do them, they're going to start getting some wins. Even though our FBA launch, which is not until September, is still 2 months out. But I don't want it to be like, hurry up and wait. I don't want it to be like, oh, I'm not really talking about anything or doing anything. There's no strategy here. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm launching next week. And then all of a sudden I feel behind the 8 ball. In fact, I would rather you guys elongate it to give yourself more time, to give yourself more energy, and to really so that it doesn't feel like everything's happening at once. So a couple of things when you're thinking about anticipation phase. The first thing I already mentioned, which is I do want you to have an evergreen lead magnet happening in advance. Now, for us, it's about 2.5 months out from our launch. If I could have done that even longer, I probably would have, probably should have. So for example, we launched FBA the last time in March. Right in April, I should have put these lead magnets on ads, right? Not organic promotion, not pushing these out on social necessarily, but I should have probably been like, you know what, let's just take some cash. Let's put this on ads now, 6 months before our next launch, so that we can get those people, those leads into our email list. We can get them some wins. We can get them into our ecosystem. We can get them following me on social. They can start seeing some of my posts, interacting with me, maybe having conversations ahead of the sale. Like I probably should have been doing that even further in advance. We're just doing it 2.5 months. But for you guys, I want you thinking to yourself, like, what's next? The second you close the card on something or the second a launch ends, and I know it's hard because you're probably so drained, but I want you to give yourself like a week off or something, take some downtime, celebrate, and then ask yourself, cool, what's next? And what can I be doing now to get people nurtured so that by the time card opens, this person has had some months with me? It's not like they just learned of me last week and now I'm trying to sell them $1,000 program or whatever, right? It's like they've had some time to warm up. They've had some time to get used to me, to decide if I'm an authority, to decide if they like my vibe, if they like my energy. And so think about your evergreen lead magnet being that opportunity to get people in earlier. Right. So the second piece, that's number 1. The second is your wait list. So you should always have a wait list for your next launch. So obviously for FBA, we do jillfitfree.com/FBA-waitlist. And that waitlist has been open now for several years because we've been launching FBA several times a year. And so we always have new people coming in. And so that can be just an evergreen call to action, like whenever it makes sense. So Shantae, the movement maestro, she always says that the best time to promote your waitlist is when you're doing the actual program. So for example, we started our last round of FBA in April. I probably should have been, and I have been doing it off and on, but I should have probably been doing it more when I'm regramming a lot of my students, because my students will post on social media, they're on their FBA call or whatever. I should have probably put that call to action to get on the wait list. So if you do have a wait list, again, this is just another channel for people to get into what we call your launch funnel for the next time you launch your product or your service. So the first channel is this evergreen lead magnet, needs to make sense for where you're going to eventually ask them to buy. The second channel is your wait list. And the third channel is what we call your tangential lead magnet, or your timely lead magnet. Okay. So your timely lead magnet happens right before cart open. So in FBA, we typically do a 3-part video series where I do a deep dive on social media, I do a deep dive on content creation, and get people warmed up for the FBA sale. And so that allows for me to have people's attention and get them some wins right before we open the cart. And so it makes sense that if someone is number one, maybe someone down, like ideally, I would like for someone to be on my wait list. I would like them to download the evergreen lead magnet. So they're now in my email list and they're getting emails from me and getting nurtured from me months in advance. And then also do, lastly, the timely lead magnet right before I launch, so they can get some wins, so that they know what's happening, so that they're literally, when someone is in your timely lead magnet, that's what we call your launch list. Your launch list is anyone who's in that group of people. They've raised their hand to say, you know what, Jill, I'm interested in learning social media because I know it's a pivotal part of growing my business and I'm new to this space. I need a rinse and repeat system. And that's typically what we teach in that timely lead magnet. And I give them some time. It's a 3-part video series that happens over the course of 10 days. And the nice thing about that is they get some wins. It's not just a one-time workshop where I'm like, okay, bye, or a PDF, like my evergreen lead magnet's a PDF. But if someone downloads a PDF, I don't know if they opened it. I don't know if they read it. I don't know if they did it or implemented it, right? I don't have any control over that. I can't monitor their experience. I can't get them wins because I'm not there. Versus a timely lead magnet happens right before the sale. I can monitor their progress. I'm seeing them 3 times over the course of 10 days. I have them in a closed Facebook group. We're having conversations. I'm looking at their content. They're tagging me on social. I can keep track of who's doing the stuff, who's actually taking action, who's moving in the direction, who would be a great candidate for FBA. So again, so it becomes a win-win for everybody. I don't want to just be like blasting people and being like, buy this thing and like blasting out sales all the time. I want people, and people deserve, by the way, I want people to get wins ahead of the sale. If I can't get someone a win before they even invest in me, I'm not worth being invested in. I'm going to say it again. If I can't get someone a win before the sale, I'm not worth being invested in. And, you know, it's interesting because I do see some people on social media just not really giving a lot away, thinking if they give too much away, then someone's not going to buy them. Now, I do think there's probably a fine line there. But remember, if you hold everything close to the vest, how can anyone know that you're an authority? How can they ever know that the stuff you talk about actually works? Which is why you do need to talk about what you know. You do need to be the expert. You do have to share the solutions that you have for people for free ahead of time. So that's where these lead magnets come in. So I want you to think about your deconstructed or your runway period being a little bit longer than maybe it has in the past. And there are 3 main channels that we are using to get people into that one big funnel that's going to take them into the sale. So the 3 channels, again, number 1 is an evergreen lead magnet. This can be put on ads, by the way, like in advance. So for example, we have 2 running right now. I'm not really talking about them on social. I'm talking about the FBA waitlist, which is great. I'm not really talking about those evergreen lead magnets because we're just pumping money into them behind the scenes, right? So these obviously are people who are qualified. They wouldn't opt in. It's all permission-based marketing. We're not forcing them to opt in. They have the opportunity to opt in. They have to check a box saying that they're going to get that they know they're going to get emails from me and stuff like that. And then we have some time to nurture them. So once someone opts into my evergreen lead magnet, they get an email from me every single week into the launch. They get an email giving them some homework, giving them some insights, giving them some, to do some action items, giving them some education and strategy. And so that they have some wins before I invite them to join FBA. The second channel is your waitlist. Your waitlist ideally should go up right after you close cart the last time. So you are getting people on there. And again, there's not like a perfect system or a perfect amount of times you need to be putting that in front of people. Just whenever the call to action feels relevant, it feels related, go ahead and put that on your stories. And the third channel is what we call your timely lead magnet or your tangential lead magnet, which happens right before the sale. We did an episode maybe a couple months back called the ombre method. I want you to go back and listen to that. It's called the ombre method and will help you understand what information should go into that timely lead magnet. What's going to go into that lead magnet that happens right before the sale? What goes in there versus what goes in your actual paid product. So go ahead and give that a listen. But the idea behind the Runway is that you're giving people, not only are you getting people onto a list or getting them into your ecosystem for the potential upcoming sale, but you're getting them some wins. And so that's why I say it's win-win. I'm not trying to pretend I'm not going to sell anything. I want to get them some wins. I want to get them some momentum. I want them to start building so they can see that this is actually possible for them. I'm not going to just hold everything close to the vest. And the second I, sell something, I'm like, surprise, it's a sale, right? I want them to know it's coming. And so the Runway gives people a lot of opportunity to interact with you, to have conversations with you, to be in your ecosystem, to have correspondence back and forth with you, and get some wins, which is ultimately what everyone wants. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys. I do want you thinking a little bit bigger picture on this. What I noticed, especially with newbies and those in the first couple of years of their business, is they're really just launching shit out of their ass. Now, I don't say it in a condescending way. I say it because you don't know. You're like, oh, I guess I should launch something. And then all of a sudden it's like, it's next week. I want you guys really taking time. Now, of course, if you can't pay your bills, then yes, let's get an injection of cash this weekend. But if you have a little bit of time because you're doing something else, you have another job that's bringing in cash for your bills, give yourself some time between launches so you can really dial in your strategy. And that way you'll have a lot bigger of a pool to pull from than if it's just like, oh, I'm launching something next week. And then all of a sudden, no one knows about it. You haven't been talking about it. There's no familiarity there. And you're going to have a big uphill climb trying to get people to purchase that. Hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Wanted to just do this because we are getting into obviously our FBA launch, which is coming here in September. We launch twice a year. We're doing a brand new offer and we're actually redoing the entire course. So it's very exciting. If you have been on the fence or you've been paying attention these last couple of years, now is the time to get on that interest list. Go to jillfitfree.com/FBA-waitlist. There is absolutely no obligation to be on that list. But if you do and you decide you want to join us for FBA this next round, you will get exclusive discount and bonuses because you're on the waitlist. I love, love, love rewarding early action takers, decisive action takers. And if you are on that waitlist, I know that you are one. All right, you guys, that is it for me. Hope you have a great rest of your week and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye, guys.